On behalf of the European Education and Culture Executive Agency, it is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you to the Erasmus Plus Capacity Building in Higher Education info session. We thank you for the high interest shown in this action. You are 8,200 having registered to participate in this info session, coming from around 150 different countries around the globe. During today's event, we would like to inform you about the main aspects of the Erasmus Plus capacity building action, explain to the newcomers amongst you what this is all about and how it works, and for those of you who have already participated in this action, update you on the news introduced this year. Capacity building in higher education, we call it CBHE. This action supports international cooperation project based on multilateral partnerships between organizations active in the field of higher education. The activities and outcomes of CBHE projects must be geared to benefit what we call the eligible third countries not associated to the program, their higher education institutions and systems. You will understand how this works during the course of what is here in Brussels the morning. The 2024 call for proposals and the updated program guide have been published 2 days ago on the 28th of November. Therefore, the timing is perfect, we hope, for going through all the aspects that might help you in preparing a competitive CBHE proposal. My colleagues, Anastasios Tsiradkidis, Head of Sector of Selection, Carla Giuletti and Giordana Bruno, Project Advisors in the Monitoring Sector, will guide you through the various aspects and news of this call and the main elements to be taken into account for preparing a proposal that will be of quality and interesting. Pietro Samperi, a colleague working in the Research Executive Agency REA as legal and financial advisor, and there he works in the Central Validation Service, will present you how the registration of participants works and the legal and the so-called LEAR validation work. In this framework, I would like to highlight that for funding this action this year in 2024, we have foreseen a budget of around 98 million euros distributed amongst the 3 strands of the action and the 10 regions of the world eligible for CBHE. In 2024, and with this budget, we intend to select around 145 projects. I invite you to ask questions through the functional mailbox indicated on the website of the event where you registered. They will be answered during the session orally or in the coming days in written. I would like to wish you a very interesting info session. Thank you very much. And I now give the floor to my colleague, Tassos.
Yes, hello. Let me welcome you all in this info session for the capacity building action. As Barbara already said, we have done our homework. We have published the call 2 days ago. If you make the effort to go to the funding portal and tenders portal, you will see also that the application form is already there so that you can familiarize yourself with the context and the detailed annexes and forms that have to be filled in to describe your proposal and so on. So I think it's a very good sign that we have already more than 8,000 people attending this info session. So we hope that this will translate also to a higher number of applications than we had last year. So, which will help us all at the end of the day. I think the more applications we get, the more proposals, good proposals, we will be able to finance. the more good proposals we finance, the more credits we will get at the end by the budgetary authority. So this action will then still be around for all those of you interested in international cooperation, in building up capacities in the higher education systems of the third countries. This being said, let me just now go through the main objectives of this action. We will see that we are very much interested in the modernization of the higher education as such and the higher education systems, the social impact that is generated when people are entering in education, the accessibility of these people in the higher education systems. So disadvantaged people, people with fewer opportunities are also targeted by our action. So the innovation in terms of how you run your universities. You set up a international secretariat for cooperation purposes with other partners. You have a support scheme for the students that you have in your universities that are reach out with other students and for mobility and exchanges, the governance of the higher education institutions. So to bring it to the standards, up to the standards that we think that will matter for better education, and then this cooperation and regional integration, so not scattered higher education systems that do not cooperate with each other. So they have this common, let's say, platform for exchanging and learning from each other and so on. This being said, let's talk about what these more than 150 countries we have available, that are eligible for applying in our action. So you will see that there are here 10 Erasmus Plus regions. So we have the Western Balkans, the neighborhood East, the South Mediterranean countries, Asia region. Here you see those who already had an idea of capacity building. We have here split the Asian region in 5A and in 5B. The CBHE action targets the 5A of the Asia region countries, which are the countries that are not the high-income countries in this region. Central Asia, Middle East region, again, only Iraq, Iran, and Yemen, not Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and so on. Pacific, again, 8A, not Australia, New Zealand. South Sub-Saharan Africa, plenty of countries, Latin America and Caribbean region. Just here a few words on exceptions, let's say. South Mediterranean countries, Syria is not eligible to participate in Strand 3 proposals. Apropos Strand 3, here the main features also of the program. So we have 3 strands, so strand with different types of support. We will go in more detail later. The whole scheme of the CBHE action is built around the Commission of EU overarching priorities, which are always brought in the regional context, and this we will see in FTOP, where we have published our call. There is a simplification we have introduced the last couple of years, the budget system that we call the lump sum 2 budget system. There you will see that it is simpler to apply with the very standard rules of budget-based costs estimation, and later on this translates to a simpler composition of the grant and the way it is monitored and checked during the project implementation. And as we've said, the whole call, you will find it in the Funder and Tenders Opportunities portal, which we will show you the link later on again. So as we were talking about overarching priorities, so these are the 5 well-known, I suppose. The Green Deal, digital transformation, integration of migrants, governance, peace, security, and human development, and sustainable growth and jobs. These are the 5 pillars, let's say, of the priorities where a project is built around. And next to it, you see that proposals composed by partners from these regions are relevant for which overarching priority. You see that Green Deal and sustainable growth and jobs is relevant for all the CBHE eligible regions, whereas digital transformation does not include the Middle East or the Caribbean, or integration of migrants is not relevant for Asia, Central Asia, and so on. You will need to keep this in mind when you apply, and especially when you apply with a cross-regional proposal. We will come also to that later. A cross-regional proposal, that you make sure that the overarching priority of the 2 regions is common for this overarching priority. It's covered by both regions. This, a few words a little bit more on the 3 strands. Strand 1, which is this, how we call the entry point to the CBHE action, is targeting to cooperation for in the higher education for newcomers, less experienced universities or partners in the proposal. It lasts only 2 or 3 years, maximum 2 or 3 years, and the funding is between 200 and 400,000 euros for this for one project. Then in strand 2, we look for partnerships that will aim to transform the higher education, the universities as such, but also the systems around it, the higher education system. So again, the duration is 2 or 3 years. Here the funding and the demands are higher, and so is also the grant, 400 from 400 up to 800,000 euros per project for this 2 to 3 years duration. And finally, the strand 3 pillar, where we have the structural reform projects, where projects can last from, as they are more going more to the substance, to the legislation that needs to be transformed or suggested, come in contact with the ministries and so on. So that's why it the duration is longer, from 3 to 4 years, and respectively also the funding, it starts from 600,000 euros up to 1 million per project. And here is what I just said. It's important that we, the Ministry of Higher Education, responsible for higher education, is a partner in involved in the project, and is fully a partner of it. So we talked about the 3 strands, so the type of projects. Now we look a little bit closer what type of projects we have. We have built up the national projects, the multi-country projects, and the multi-country projects with a cross-regional aspect. So the national projects involve only 1/3 country, one of the non-EU countries, let's say, in the proposal, and this is called the national project that targets only this one country, the multi-country regional projects that have several countries involved in the proposal but from the same and one region, and the universities that come from several countries, again, but from different regions. So then the conditions for how to build up the consortium, it's a little bit different for what concerns the EU member states and the third countries associated to the program. So the neighbor, the candidate countries, this you will find also in the program guide. There must be at least 2 EU members, and each of them comes with 1 university, whereas the third countries, it depends on the type of proposal. It must be either 1 or 2 when it comes to multi-country or regional or multi-country cross-regional proposals. For a few words more now concerning going a little bit deeper. I will not stay long per strand. So as I said, the strand 1 is the smaller pillar of this action. It's targeting to newcomers, those that are established in rural areas or in remote areas, and it's just to make them come in the first contacts, to trust themselves to apply for a European funded proposal, to enhance and increase the means to reach out people with fewer opportunities, as we said, and at the end of the day, reduce the internationalization gap, because as we are belong to the Erasmus Plus international cooperation actions. So least developed countries will be in priority. As I said, in remote region areas, less experience and staff with fewer opportunities are the target group in this strand in particular. In strand 2, there, the demands are a little bit higher, so innovation in higher education. So here we talk about going in close contacts with labor market and in general the society, the capacities of the universities to network in each other, innovative learning and teaching methods, so being it distance learning, being it hybrid learning or blended learning. So these are all possible ideas that are possible to build up a project around strand 2. For strand 3, as we already touched upon, so here we go a little bit in the structural reform of the universities in both the law of higher education in the country with synergies with other ongoing EU initiative, inclusive higher education systems, allowing access to learning. So all this to target these aspects, but in a structural reform, so that it's not only for the duration of the project, but it stays and impacts the higher education of the countries that are participating in the proposal. Who can participate? Here we have, of course, the universities or organization of universities are the target. We are the main targeted type of organizations. Who can be a coordinator? Only the universities can be a coordinator. Nevertheless, partners can be any possible organization, association, institution that is related to the higher education, to youth, NGOs, social partners. So whoever the proposal thinks that will bring an added value in being part of this proposal is also possible to participate. it's only one applicant that will submit, it's only one of the applicant organizations that will submit the proposal, and this is then called for us the coordinator, who takes the full responsibility, the legal responsibility vis-a-vis our agency. The program guide has been published, so you will find concrete details on the type and number of organizations that can apply, but we will go also through them. The program guide, that is the so-called call, we have tried, those who know us from last year, we have to simplify not only the conditions to apply, but also the wording and the structure of the conditions, where we have tried to make it more easy to understand and to follow the different eligibility criteria. There is a new way of looking on the cross-regional proposals. You will see in our website that a dedicated budget has been allocated for the cross-regional proposals. That is around 10% of the annual budget. These proposals will be flagged and evaluated separately, will be ranked and then funded. They will compete among themselves and will be ranked separately from the regions they belong to. And we have also tried to simplify the approach when we will, at a certain moment of the evaluation cycle, when we will reach out to the EU delegations for being consulted for certain aspects of the proposals. So a little bit more concrete. I will not. I will emphasize what is important, but it's also good that you have it in one slide. All the criteria for the minimum partnership composition. So we have national projects, first of all. As we said, these are targeting only one country in one of the regions, and here are the eligible countries for these national projects. So you see that Western Balkans is not among those, so national projects are not possible when Western Balkans countries are involved. There must be at least two countries from this region in the proposal. The same goes also for Latin America and Caribbean. So for this national project, we will have at least two EU member states or third countries associated with the program. Each of these two minimum participating countries must involve at least one university, higher education institution. So then the point here is that I would like to emphasize is that this condition for at least one university applies only to this minimum two EU member states. So if there is a Belgian and German university applying in the proposal, and then they come all with one university, and then on top there comes another Italian partner. This Italian partner does not need to be a university. It can be an NGO, can be an organization of higher education institutions, can be any other type of organization. It doesn't need to be a university. And for the national project, again, with it needs only one eligible third country not associated to the program. That comes then, however, with two universities. There is an exception for these two universities, so it's for the smaller countries with a limited number of universities, less than 5, or with very dominant position of one of the universities in this country, with more than 50% of the students. Then this third country can also apply with one university in the proposal. This will be cross-checked later on also with the EU delegation. It's one of the aspects we will certainly cross-check with the EU delegations. So then we have multi-country projects that is open for all eligible regions. So here we don't distinguish between the regional and the cross-regional proposals. Here again for strand 1 and 2, the two EU member states, so the program countries, are still required with at least one university, but again limited to this minimum 2 EU member countries. And here the demands go higher for the multi-country projects, that then you need to involve at least 2 eligible third countries, so being it Egypt and Jordan, for example. These are the multi-country projects, regional, and if it is Egypt and Vietnam, then this will call for a cross-regional, multi-country cross-regional proposal. Now, again, each of these third country partners must come with countries must come with at least 2 universities. Again, the rule is limited to the minimum number of countries that are needed in order to build up an eligible partnership. A third, fourth, fifth country from the region or from can come with can be involved in the proposal, but doesn't need to come with a university. Then a few words also on strand 3, which is a little bit more. It varies a little bit with conditions. Here, again, for what concerns the EU member states, it doesn't change anything. Again, minimum 2, and with 1 university each of them for national projects. Open for all eligible regions, so there is no restriction on the terms of which regions can be part of this proposal, of such under strand 3 proposal. It's 1 eligible third country. For multi-country projects, it's again 2 eligible countries, 2 eligible third countries involved in the proposal. And here it comes. Here the participation of the university is not limited to these 2 eligible third countries. So each country, beyond the 2 minimums that need to be involved in the proposal, must come with at least 2 universities. So if you have, what did we say, Egypt and Vietnam, and then you have also Thailand involved in the proposal, each of these, despite that the minimum consortium composition is fulfilled with 2 eligible third countries, even also Thailand must come with, must be involved in the proposal with the 2 universities. And for, as we said before, national the ministries for higher education or the competent authority responsible for must be a full partner in from each of these third countries must be a full partner in the proposal. Again, the exception when you can apply with 1 university. We were I was saying also about the lump sum model. Here, it's a straightforward, I try to sell it as a straightforward and simple undertaking. You will find the so-called detailed budget table on our call website. There you will need to define your partners, you will need to define the work packages, and then there is a very high scientific Excel table. It creates a whole a number of worksheets that you need to fill in. These Excel worksheets contain the work packages that per beneficiary, for each of your full partners. Here you have to estimate your cost based on actual cost, so the real cost that you think that will be needed in order to implement the proposal. So then we will receive your application, we will assess, check whether everything is in order, all the details, all the conditions are fulfilled. And based on what will be the final result of this evaluation, the EU grant will be defined as a single amount, just one amount for the whole proposal, split of course in work packages per partner, and this will be the basis for the grant agreement to be signed. And later on, there won't be any reports on financial on the spend, what was spent for the proposal. The focus will be on the meticulous assessment of the implemented activities, whether the activity, it will be checked how the level of the implemented activity, how far the project has reached its targets. And this will then impact also the lump sum as a final assessment of the finances of the proposal. Here, just an overview of the almost 98 millions that Barbara just said before. Here you will see them, the split, the total budget and the split per region and per strand, and the indicative number of proposals. Here you will see that around 9 million will be for the cross-regional proposals, 88 million will be for the national regional proposals. And this will bring us around 145 proposals, what we said before. The award criteria here, there is no novelty whatsoever. All Erasmus Plus actions are with the 4 standard award criteria: the relevance of the project, the quality of the project design, the quality of the partnership, and the sustainability and impact of the expected results. 60 out of 100 points are necessary in order to start being considered for funding. Nevertheless, you have also to score at least 50% of the points for each of the award criterion, and depending on the quality of the proposals and how high the scores are, the actual funding threshold will be certainly above 60 points, because the competition will be high. And so, nevertheless, there are also additional consideration in case of proposals with an equal score. This we will find also in the program guide, clearly explained. As we said, we wait for you to start drafting your proposals. The funding and tenders opportunities portal is already set up, that you can already download the application form and start thinking about describing your proposal. The deadline is 8th of February. There's plenty of time to start drafting your proposal, and we will certainly wait for your applications. There are several info days that we would like you to inform about, so you can always consult these web pages where you can find maybe the latest news on other info days that are organized either by the National Erasmus Plus offices, and the national focal points, and etc., or the national agencies as well. So just now to close, because I think I took too much time, a few slides on what we have done so far. We have financed already almost a bit more than 300 proposals. We have spent, we'll see, the big share goes to strand 2 proposals, strand 1 proposals come also with 23%, and strand 3 just 11%, which are the more demanding, let's say, proposals as well. The average consortium composition is around 10 partners in each of the projects, and the success rate, as I said, so the competition is high. We receive a lot of applications, a lot of good applications, so we were able to finance around 20%, 21% in the last 2 years. Here you will see also a few slides on the number of selected projects. So you will see that Region 9, the Sub-Saharan Africa, takes the lion's share, because the credits go in masses to this region. So, and there are a lot of good applications as well. And then followed by Asia and neighborhood East and so on. As we were talking about the overarching priorities, the big share goes to the sustainable growth and jobs, which is common to all, which is possible to be targeted by all the regions. Then digital transformation, Green Deal, governance, peace, and integration of migrants in terms of overarching priorities or targeted by the selected proposals. Top coordinator countries, it's here we have seen a trend to have also third countries not associated to the program to take the role of coordinator. Here we will see that Ukraine, Albania, Georgia, Armenia, India as well, Uzbekistan, Kenya. These are already third countries that have made it so far to be entrusted also with the role of coordinator. Italy, Finland, and Spain, of course, are the top coordinator countries from the EU. The top partner countries, so there was a priority last year as well on the Ukraine, so there are a lot of partners coming from Ukraine at this new MFF, multi-annual financial framework period. Albania is coming from the Western Balkans, Bosnia-Herzegovina, neighborhood East, Georgia, Uzbekistan, Armenia from Central Asia. So these are the top partner countries, and you see, you don't, it goes until down to Sweden with 25, that equals with Pakistan and Uganda, for example. This is, it is an open call for all possible countries from around the world. So these were my few words on the CBHE action this year. I hope you found it interesting. And I will give now my floor to my colleague, Jordana, if I'm not wrong. Please, Jordana, you can.
Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody. Sorry, technical problems. Hello to everybody, I'm Jordana. I thank Tassos for giving me the floor, and I would like to continue about the presentation, indicating at first which are the purpose and the priorities of this call. So, as it was mentioned already, the focus of the program is really to give priority and to focus on the needs of the third countries not associated to the Erasmus Plus program. This is a capacity building in higher education action, so of course what we want is to build capacity, in particularly in the third countries that are not associated to the Erasmus Plus program. This means that are not really, that are our main target groups. But of course, we have decided also to individuate and to choose some priorities that are in line with the priorities of the European Union, and that but they should also be in line with the priorities of the countries that you would like to target in your application. What is also important in this field is the fact that you have to try to maximize the benefit to the third countries not associated to the program guide, and this should be clear from the beginning of the preparation of your project. So the first step that you have to do is really to have a brainstorming with your potential partner about what you want, why, and why you want to achieve them, and why you have chosen these third countries that you want to target in your application. As mentioned by Tassos, we have 3 strands now under capacity building in higher education, and the first one is the strand 1, fostering access to cooperation in higher education. So in this case, we are targeting through this trend the newcomers mainly. But of course, the definition of newcomers might be different according to the countries that you want to involve, and also to the size of the universities. In some of the regions, it's explicitly mentioned in the program guide that we want to target, for example, newcomers coming from remote zone or from least developed countries, but the definition is also larger. We know, for example, that in some of the countries, the higher education institutions are very big. So, for example, in a university with 200,000 students involved, of course, also one of the faculty can be considered as newcomer in relation with the size of the university. So what is important under strand one is really that you convince us that you are targeting newcomers, that you want to build capacity in specific higher education institution and in specific countries, but the focus is really this newcomer involvement. And this can be done through different type of project. You can decide, for example, to enhance the management or the administrative capacity of the higher education institutions involved. You can decide to reforming and modernizing the university's governance. You can build, for example, international relation offices in universities that have never participated to not only to capacity building in higher education project, but also that they don't have several links with other universities in the world. So you can decide to build international relation offices, or on the other side, we are always focusing on quality. You can decide to have a project in quality assurance, or to increase the capacity in a larger sense. And of course, what we want is also to ensure high quality and relevant education, and creating, for example, new modules or new curriculum. This is also one of the aspects that normally in the past has been targeted particularly. You can also decide to implement training courses for higher education institution staff. So there are a variety of possibilities under this strand one, but what we want to advise you to focus in is the fact of the newcomers, really. We want newcomers coming in a capacity building in higher education, but more in general in the Erasmus+, and more in general also in building links and relationship with the European universities and the other universities in third countries associated to the program guide, to the program. Then the other one, this is the most successful normally in terms of quantity at least. This is the strand 2. It's also in line with the past activities, with the previous program, the Tempus program, then it was continued afterwards, and this focus on the partnership for transformation in higher education. And here the key word is really transformation. We want that you transform, the innovation aspect. So we know that some of you have already participated in previous program and in previous project, and they want to continue what they've built. But this is in line, this is possible, but you really need also in these strands to focus on the capacity building aspect and on the transformation, on innovation. Don't underestimate the differences that have been included and integrated in this strand, also in this year, but also with this new framework program. And this is also very important, that's it, so that you focus on higher education institution, that you build a relationship with the local actors, and in particular to the industry and business sectors. Through this strand, we would like to improve the employability also, the link with the business, but focusing always on the innovation part and on the fact that you are on the innovation fact and on the fact that you want to transform the higher education sector. You can also involve in these actions, in this strand, the bodies responsible for higher education at local and national level. In any case, also under this strand, you can design innovative curricula, innovative learning and teaching methods, active engagement with the business work and with the research, as I've already mentioned. And also what we want to achieve through this, because we think that the transformation can be done through the reforms of the higher education institution themselves. So if you want to, for example, introduce the Bologna type reform at institutional level, this can be a strand in which you can build on and for which you can present a proposal that can raise the innovative aspect. Then we go to the strand 3, the structural reform project. This is the most ambitious one because we want to involve, and it's a must, that you involve the National Ministry for the Higher Education in the country that it's targeted. So this means that what we want here to achieve is the impact on the system level, not only at the higher education institution level, but really on the system. And this is really the big difference, and it's really very important that you foster the national ownership. Involving the Ministry of Higher Education, it's really important that the needs analysis of the country concern is done very in depth, and that, of course, what you are proposing in your strand 3 proposal is fully in line with the priorities and with the needs of the country and of the higher education system of the countries concerned. And that's it. So then we can go. I would like to give you some example of the overarching priorities, because as mentioned by Tassos before, the overarching priorities are 5: Green Deal, digital transformation, innovation of migrants, governance, peace, security and human development, sustainable growth and jobs. So we have decided to give you some example of what is written in the program guide about the different type of priorities that you can do. There are, for example, under the Green Deal, environmental challenges, biodiversity, but these lists are not exhaustive. You can go further, but of course what is important is that it's in line with the overarching, that your proposal is in line with the overarching priorities that you mentioned in your proposal. And another point on this point that I would like to underline is the fact that you have to be very attentive on the fact that not all overarching priorities are eligible or count for all the regions that you can target. And what is essential is that when you decide to build a multi-country project, is that you check very carefully that the priority that you have chosen is valid for all the regions that are involved. Unfortunately, if it is not the case, the proposal will not be assessed at all, because it's the first thing, the first aspect that we will check during the evaluation process. So I give now the floor to my colleague Carla, who will give you some points to consider when writing a proposal in higher education.
Thank you, Giordana. Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. I'm Carla Giulietti, and I will go a little bit in depth in what is for us a successful application. For instance, the first thing to keep in mind is that it is not just succeeding in being selected, but the success is in delivering the expected results. And so in keeping also the results alive after the funding period. And smooth implementation of your project highly depends on the amount of time that you put at this stage, because at this stage, when you are drafting it, brainstorming and discussing it with your colleagues, you can already wipe out a lot of potential obstacles. So what we consider a competitive application is, first of all, an application that has been prepared and agreed jointly by all consortium partners, that has also received a full institutional commitment and support by all partners. So it is not a proposal that is written by just a couple of people, each on their corner, and it is certainly something that must be overseen at the end by a group of people checking that everything is consistent. And a final characteristic is that it has to be ready to start immediately after the selection decision. So consider really that the work that you do at this stage is really important to give you the means to start and being operational very quickly. And what we are looking for are clear and ambitious proposals that really meet the needs of the third countries, because they are our focus. And we, from the very beginning, consider that impact is really your north light, your north star, because the results have to make a difference. The change has to be visible. And also, the coherence and the effectiveness of the work plan has to be executed by a competent team. So, from the lessons that we have learned in the first calls, we can already mention things that we expect would be improved in the next editions. For instance, I mentioned that we frequently see a discrepancy between Part C and Part B of the application. Part C is the short page where you indicate the key performance indicators. I will have a slide to show you that after this slide. But also we notice that there is a certain confusion between task, milestone, indicators and deliverables. There is a certain confusion on this concept. We fully understand that a professor of epidemiology or a professor or law is not a project manager, but we really advise to involve also some profile in your writing, in your drafting, that can check that there is really not confusion of this important terminology: tasks, milestone, indicator, and deliverables. The logical framework matrix is also sometimes missing, because it's a separate document in our portal, and it has to be downloaded separately and embedded in Part B. So please pay attention not to miss this step and to complete the logical framework matrix and insert in Part B. Sometimes we observed very weak need analysis. My colleague Giordana will go more in depth on this concept later on, but the need analysis that really demonstrates that this project is needed and it is appropriate for the targeted country is something essential. Another element is that the innovation that Giordana has already mentioned is not always visible. So please really highlight which aspects are to be considered as innovative in the countries that you have selected. We also observe that the share of staff costs has grown a lot compared to the past, but we will address that in the budget part more deeply. But we have also received projects with staff cost share of 80%, and that is something that should be avoided. Please watch on the percentage of staff cost to have a balanced proposal, because equipment, for instance, we have noticed that particularly in Strand 1, because the budget is more limited, we don't have equipment for newcomers sometimes, and that it is not good if you address institutions that have no means to acquire the equipment in different ways. And also for Strand 2, where there are projects that where there are institutions that have participated many times in capacity building project and that have already purchased a lot of generic material like laptops and photocopiers or printers, we expect that to put forward the innovation, you acquire specialized equipment for laboratories. And this is the part C, that sometimes present discrepancies with part B. In this part C, you need to indicate new courses or upgraded courses, new programs, but also you need to indicate the number, the concrete figures of the beneficiaries that you plan to reach and to impact on. And these same figures have to be reported, have to correspond to what you state in part B. Sometimes we discover that there are figures in part C that do not correspond at all to part B. So please try to consider that these two parts have to go together without discrepancies. And also in the terminology. In the terminology, we observe a certain confusion. For instance, course, as you have just seen in part C of the application, course for us, it is not the degree, it is not the study program, but it is the lower unit. So for us, in the terminology, the study program is the same than the degree, it's the same than the curriculum, but the course is the subject, is the module. So please use a consistent terminology, because our experts sometimes observe a confusion on these courses, curriculum that are used in an unclear way. And so terminology is key, because a task is any activities that has a defined outcome associated with it. Deliverables are for us the final products, the results of your project. Think that deliverables are those that justify spending public money to fund this project. So deliverable must be of a consistent number and a good quality to justify that public money is invested for that. A milestone is something that a significant step in the successful production of deliverables. So already by definition, the milestone comes first of the deliverable, is an important step that you need to accomplish in the way, in the path to reach and produce the deliverable. And for us, impact is very important, and we make a distinction between dissemination of results, that is just spreading results, make results known and visible for others, and exploitation. Exploitation is make results used by others. This beyond the original consortium that has contributed to produce. And also communication and dissemination, there is a certain difference, because communication is everything you do to inform about your project, so to get attention to the project, to get attention to the implementation, while dissemination is more properly used for dissemination of results. So from this, we can assume that communication starts on day one, communicating about your project and raise awareness, while dissemination starts a little bit later, because starts when your results starting to take form and to be a little bit more concrete. And what is the innovation that we expect to see? Well, in higher education, because innovation is applicable to everything, but in higher education, we expect to see innovative curricula introducing innovative elements, for instance, introducing interdisciplinarity, for instance, introducing placement schemes for students. And innovation also refers to learning and teaching materials. For instance, we expect to see learner-centered methodologies or real problem or problem-solving based teaching. We expect to see the introduction of digital modules. And finally, particularly in Strand 2, we expect to see the active engagement with the business world and with research center. And we expect to see that these new curricula and these new educational programs and the activities that go together, they are really done with the enterprises and within the enterprises. And now we are going to examine each award criteria more in depth. And I will pass over again to Giordana for the first criteria.
Yes, thank you, Carla. Thank you, Carla. We go on with the work criteria. They have been listed already by Tassos before, but we want really that they pass through, and I will repeat it. So the relevance of the project is the first point. Then we have quality of the project design and implementation, quality of the partnership and the cooperation agreement, sustainability, impact, and dissemination of the expected results. As you can see also in the slides, there are points given to each award criteria, and in order to pass through, you have to reach at least the half of them in each award criterion. So now with Carla, we will go on and we will go a little bit more into the details about what we want and what we intend and we mean with the different award criteria. Starting, of course, with the first one, the relevance of the project. You can see in the program guide and in the application form that there are some guiding questions, guiding points that you have to follow and you have to answer when writing your proposal. The first one is, of course, the purpose. So why the objective and the activities that you want to achieve are relevant to the capacity building in higher education action and to the specificities of the strand. As mentioned before, the three strands are different, and you have, of course, in your proposal, try to make the link from the beginning about what you want to achieve. But of course, you have also to respond in an adequate way to the current of the target countries. This is really very important. What we want is, of course, that your proposal is in line with the overarching priorities that we have defined, with the European, that are linked also to the European priorities. But most importantly, you have to go and your proposal should be relevant to the target countries, but also to each higher education institution that is involved in your proposal. And for obtaining this, you have to go through, you have to have clear objective. The link to the EU policy and initiative should be very well described and evident for the reader. And of course, you have also to mention the EU added value. But going more in details about the first point, so the background and the general objective of the relevance, in this part, you really need to describe the objective and the background and the rationale of the project. You have really to mention why it's relevant to the scope of the call and how the project addressed the general objective of the call, including the overarching priorities. What I want to mention in this part is also the fact that you have to convince your reader. The first target group of your application are, of course, the evaluation committee and the expert that will evaluate your proposal. And the relevance is really the starting point of your story. So you really need to think about that very carefully and doing a very in-depth, also deep need analysis that, and this should be done already from the beginning with the entire consortium. Sometimes when we read the application that you sent to us, we see that perhaps the idea it's very good, but it's not really targeting the needs of each of the partner or of the partners that you have involved in the proposal. So it's really very important that you involve from the beginning, already writing this and answering the question to the relevance, the entire partnership immediately. And as I mentioned, the needs analysis and the specific objective should be, in particular for Strand 1 and Strand 2, really also related to the higher education institution that you are targeting and that are involved in the application, in the proposal. You need to have a coherent approach. So all the aspects, so the relevance is the starting point. Why you want to prepare your application, why you want to be part of and to build the capacity in higher education proposal, why, which are the needs that you want to address, and you have also to start to think about the possible, of course, solution that you want to mention and that you want to underline in the proposal. And in order to do that, of course, you need to also have objectives that can be clear, measurable, realistic, realistic and achievable, because this is the starting point. But through the entire application afterwards, you have to explain how this objective will be implemented, with whom they will be implemented, and also how you will measure if your application was successful, defining it in the, at the end in the under the criterion that it's related to impact and sustainability. So of course also the other point is really to show how your proposal is complementarity with other actions and how it is innovative. As you see, this word innovation, it's always there and it's repeating all the time, because it's one of the key words that we wanted to focus in this under the capacity building in higher education action. So, and this is also. So also in this sense, with the relevance, you have to start to think about the complementarity to other activities carried out by other organizations, perhaps to the previous project that have been selected, but also why it is needed to work in this transnational dimension, which is the European added value that you can bring. And of course, this can be done. This should be done only. It can be done only if the needs analysis is very deep, if you work inside with all the with the entire consortium that you want to involve, because all the voices, all the perspectives should be integrated already from this part, from the relevance part. And now I give the floor to the second, the following up, and to Carla, who will continue the description.
Thank you, Giordana. Let's have a look a little bit closer to the second one, the quality of the project design and implementation. That is the most dense. Absolutely, it's the one who will take much of our time here in the presentation, but also of your time when you are drafting, because it's really where you have to explain the methodology, the work plan. You have to tackle the budget, explain the cost efficiency of the budget, and which quality measures you are planning in order to assure the quality of the outputs. And so there are so many aspects that I will take each section of the application. The first one concerns concept and methodology, and here you have to clarify the methodology, demonstrating that it is appropriate and feasible. These are two important elements. It must be appropriate for the context, and it must be feasible, realistic. So you have to make explicit which target groups are involved, how the teacher training will be implemented. If you talk about teacher training, it cannot be generic. You have to clearly explain, will it be face-to-face training? Will it be hybrid? Will you use a scheme of train the trainers first? Also for the students, you have to explain how and when they will come in the picture. And if you use surveys, benchmarking, self-assessment, you have to be very clear and explicit, because we really want to appreciate if the methodology is appropriate and can support the capacity building process in the third country. And then the project management, quality assurance and monitoring. It can be a single work package, including both project management and quality assurance, or you can have two separate work packages for this. But in any case, you need to demonstrate how the consortium is able to organize and to monitor the planned activity in order to ensure the quality. And please don't forget the logical framework matrix. This is is the model that you can download from the top. And in the following slide, there you can see an example. You can see an example because in the logical matrix framework, there are instructions in our template. There is the logical matrix, logical framework matrix, but also less than a page of instructions. But please read carefully because it's not long, but it's really essential. For us, the most important things is that the indicators that you identify, first of all, are really indicators, and secondly, that are targeted in terms of quantity and time. I give you this example. In this example that I prepared, but that I will not go through every part, but in this example, for instance, if you have planned the accreditation of 8 new bachelors, 2 for each university, jointly designed by academia and business, you need to spell out clearly the target that you are, for instance, the number of students, 200 students enrolled in the first edition in the 8 degrees. If you are planning a training for the teachers, you have to spell out the number of the teachers you plan to touch. In my example, 20 teachers trained in each university. If you are planning to introduce digital modules, e-learning modules, you have to spell out clearly the quantity of these e-learning courses. For instance, 20% of the new courses will be e-learning modules. The number of textbooks that you will draft if you plan to introduce new courses, new subjects, and so on and so forth. So for each deliverables, for each outcome, you need to have indicators that are measurables. That is very important. And also the means of verification. The means of verification outside your project. How can verified, for instance, through statistics of the university, through the document or the system that check when the students find a job after graduation. You need to indicate by which means the indicators that you have put forward and the targeted value can be verified. And coming to the next section, please, in project team staff experts, it is not necessary to insert CVs because it is not required. And I would provide two elements, one for the European institution and one for the third countries. For the European institution, please try to be genuine. Insert the name of the staff who will really be involved in the projects. Your universities sometimes have people that are very known, and they can, but we really would like to know who are the people that concretely, practically will be involved in this project. Not names that catch our attention, but at the end of the day, they will not be in our project. And for third countries, university, please ensure that there is an appropriate mix of profile. Sometimes this opportunity to cooperate in international projects is reserved only to senior staff because it's a sort of privilege in brackets, but this must be a mix where senior and junior academic staff are present. We expect this for the sustainability and also for the inclusion, to include all profile of all of staff. For the next section, cost effectiveness and financial management, you really need to demonstrate, not only state, but demonstrate that the budget that you have planned is cost effective. Please pay attention that we work now with months effort, so month and not days like in the previous edition, in the previous program 2014-2020. So now we work with month effort. Also watch the percentage of staff costs, and if it takes more than half of the budget, please reconsider it, have a second thought. Pay attention also to a balanced mix of presential and online activities. At the end, when your proposal will be complete, please check it against all these lists. Also, a fair distribution of the grant among the different partners is important. Of course, we hope that the majority of the budget goes globally to third countries, more than half we hope, but it has to be balanced. We don't expect to see one single university taking the biggest share and the other, the second one or the third one or the fourth one, being there with marginal roles. Then also, as I already mentioned, we really encourage the acquisition of specialized equipment because we have financed tons of computers, tons of laptops. We really expect that you carefully think about specialized equipment from now, that you don't put something very vague and very generic in the part of the equipment, but that you already pay attention that there is a really a strong link between the activities that you plan and the equipment that you plan to purchase. Also remember that capacity building action does not finance long mobilities, neither for students nor for staff. When I say neither long mobility, I mean mobility that goes beyond 3-4 months. They are not for this action. And finally, it is not necessary to include the cost of financial audit because it is not required and it will be cut by us because it is not eligible. So for risk management, unfortunately, we live in a world where already a number of unlikely events did happen. So please demonstrate that your analysis in assessing the likelihood, because you are requested to express if a risk is low, medium, or high to occur. So be realistic and assess the likelihood of the different risks in a way that makes sense and show anticipation capacities with appropriate mitigation strategies. And now I just give some examples of task, milestone, and deliverable to show you that milestones occur before the deliverable. For instance, if the task is the preparation of the accreditation file for the submission of a new master to your ministry, then the milestone can be the ministry feedback, and the deliverable is the accredited master. There can be in between some steps, because maybe the ministry will have some suggestions for you. You will have to modify the initial file, but the task for you is to submit a file to the ministry, and the deliverable for the project is that the curriculum is accredited. Another example coming from another kind of project, if the task is the definition of the mission, the allocated staff, the operating budget, and the procedure for a new center, it is clear that the deliverable for us is the center up and running, that is working, is established and is running. And what is the milestone is an important step, and in this case an important step is, for instance, the official decision of the University Council to establish the new center. So it's the signature of the rector that gives the green line, and then the final deliverable can happen, can take place. And another example that you can look at home with more time, and I will go to work packages now. I put plenty of examples for you after to use this presentation, but for work packages, what is important to understand is that they are the building blocks of the proposal, and a correct identification of what can be a work package really makes your project manageable and efficient. So sometimes we are asked, but how many should be? We can say that on average what we see in the projects is between 6 and 10, sometimes 12, but on average is really between 6 and 10. As I already told, a specific work package on quality assurance is possible, but it is not compulsory. It can be dealt also within the work package management. Also, a work package devoted to preparatory measures, so a work package called preparation, is admissible for us, but once more, it is not compulsory. Dissemination activities and sustainable activities sometimes are splitted into different work packages, but for us they can also be grouped in one single work package. It's really up to you how you reflect or how you want to proceed. And finally, having just a single work package gathering all travels and mobility, it is not recommended. It is recommended to put the mobility in the work package they refer to. If they concern management, because it's a consortium meeting, they goes to management. If they refer to delivering a training, they goes in another work package. The work within the work package, please pay attention to these three distinct sections. In the work package, you have tasks, you have milestones, and you have deliverable. And you don't formulate the same wording for a task, because a task is a work in progress. For instance, a task establishing the training format, collecting the case studies, implementing the drafting of the textbooks, while the milestones are some particular step. For instance, the days and the agenda of the training event are agreed and they are displayed in the website of the project. And the deliverable, finally, the deliverable is the training workshop. And as you see, these have months that are not the same. Before you do the the tasks to defining and deciding, then there are the milestones, and the deliverable comes at last. And so please pay attention to the duration, because sometimes we have a work package that ends at month 24 and the deliverables that comes at month 36. This is not possible. And indicates also, if you are talking about new courses and new programs, indicate the total number of credits, whatever credits, be that ECTS or other systems, but indicate the number of credits, both of the study program and of the course. And avoid discrepancies in the different sections, because, for instance, the timetable is also at the end of the proposal. There is a Gantt chart indicating the full timetable. Please ensure that the same number of tasks, of activities, and the same duration of these activities is reported in the section work package and in the final timetable. And there are two timetables at your disposal, one for projects of 2 years that has months, and another one for project of 3 or 4 years that has the quarters. Please ensure that you use the correct one. For defining the real the dates that are necessary, that make your proposition a quality proposition, please use a retro planning, because if the new curricula has to be taught in year 3, then it means that the accreditation has to be delivered at least, and not later, that at the end of year 2, because you need to teach the new program in year 3. So if the accreditation has to be delivered by the end of year 2, it is evident that the accreditation has to be submitted to the national competent authorities in at the end of year 1 or at the very beginning of year 2, because otherwise you cannot respect this timetable. And also, the training to the teachers of the new courses have to be implemented before the new courses are taught to the students. That is evident. And also, the syllabi of the updated courses have to be ready before these courses are taught to the students. So consider that very attentively in the application when you put the due dates of activities and the due dates of deliverables. Finally, please don't forget to complete also the subcontracting table and the table of events. In some application we see that they are not completed, and the subcontracting table must be consistent with 2 other points of the application. Must be consistent with the detailed Excel budget, because in that file you have declared how much will be the subcontracting costs, and you have declared which partners will make use of subcontracting costs. So it must correspond also in part B in the subcontracting table, but also in the section of tasks that is in each work package. The last column is there will be in-kind contribution or subcontracting costs, and you have to reply no when there is no subcontracting, and yes, there will be the subcontracting of, the quality expert, of the video makers. It must be consistent with the final table of subcontracting and the detailed budget. Also, the events, meetings and mobility have to be completed both with the in-person events and also with the online events, because the experts that assess your application need to have the full picture when they look at this table. For this example and example of deliverables, I really will not go in detail. I just present one or two examples, and then I leave you to go deeper for the rest. So for the work package management, the project management handbook can be a deliverable, but of course it cannot be delivered at month 20. It has to be delivered at the beginning. The quality assurance plan can be a work package. Also, the reports of the external quality expert that you may recruit, we would like to see them as deliverables. While the reports that you have to transmit to the agency and that are linked with the payment, for instance, the final report, that for us is not a deliverable because it is a contractual obligation that everybody has to do. So it is not necessary to put as a deliverable. And also the various meetings starting from the kickoff, they are not for us deliverables, because if they are tools that you use, they are activities, but not deliverable. And for example, for preparatory measures that I stress once again, it is not a compulsory work package. For instance, if you plan to do a need analysis, please mark clearly that it is an updated need analysis for the last details, because we expect the need analysis is done now, not after the project is funded. So in case you put something as a preparatory measure, please, it has to be very short, and it has to be just the final part of a work that has largely been done in this very phase now. And I will skip the other example and would like to pass to our criteria number 3.
Thank you, Carla. So I will go on. Thank you, Carla. We go on now with the work criteria 3, the quality of the partnership and the cooperation arrangement. This means, as you know, that under the relevance we have talk about the why. Carla has explained you how you, I mean, what you have to write in order to convince the evaluation committee and the expert on what you want to do. And of course, what is also very important is with whom and you want to do it. As we mentioned during the first part of the presentation, in the different strands, we are already indicating that you have to target different target groups. This means that, for example, in strand 1 you have to involve newcomer, in strand 2 you have to work with partners but focusing on the innovation, and in strand 3 the Ministry of Higher Education must be involved. And what we want for you to describe under the work criteria 3 is really with whom you want to participate, why, the complementarities that you have among the partner, I mean, with the other partners, for example, and how you would like to work together. It's really very important, for example, that not only you choose the partner with whom you want to work very carefully, in particular also if there are newcomers, the capacity building aspect should be always be embedded in this part as well. But it should be very clear also why you have chosen some of the partner. For example, if you're focusing in a particular priorities and or in some activities, you have to show through this work criteria how you will work together, which are the role of each partner. From the beginning, our advice is to involve all the partners in the writing of the application immediately, because this is part of the coherence also of the application that you would like to build. Another aspect is also very important, is to involve immediately the hierarchies of your partner as well. Unfortunately, during the process after being selected, we noticed that sometimes this the hierarchy and the administration in total was not really involved from the beginning, and it appears already in the application form, but it will it risks to become more evident also if by chance you are selected and at a certain moment your administration, the hierarchy of your partner doesn't agree anymore to continue for your proposal. As I mentioned at the beginning, the entire process is a story. So this is also very important that in this way you underline why you have chosen particular partners. In this call you have also to pay attention, because some of the aspects have been also a little bit changed for the experience one in comparison with the past. For example, for some regions we have identified that you need, or we will give priority to the proposal that involve institutions from the remote area, from the least developed countries, and so on. So this should be also pay attention. You should also pay attention on this aspect from the beginning. This means, for example, that the partnership and cooperation agreement is divided in two big points. So the consortium setup, focusing on the why and on the description of the participant and how they will work together. And also you have to explain the contribution of each participant to the project. This means also that in order to well explain this part, you have also ensured that the ownership of the application from their part as well. But what is also very important is that you start to think from the beginning on the consortium management and decision making, because it should be evident that every partner has a role, a big role, and an active role in the application. And this can be done only if the management structure is already mentioned and it's already described from the application stage. And also the decision making mechanism. Sometimes we read and we hear from some of the partnership that you know each other because you work together, and that's why there is not needed to have a clear management structure or to have too many things in written. But this is not true, because it's even if you have worked already together, sometimes our projects are complex projects, and also they are capacity building projects. This means that every partner, including the newcomer, for example, or the new partner that you have decided to involve, but that are not with whom you have not participated in the past, should have a clear role, an active role. It should be very well described. Also, they need to be the leader, for example, in some of the work packages, the role should be balanced, and we don't want a silent partner, or even we don't want to see in the application a partner that risks to become a silent partner immediately after the starting point of the project. And another aspect that is really very important is that you describe the communication flows, how the communication will, not only the decision will be taken, but how also all the communication flows will go on. And on this point, we would like to underline the fact that our projects are cooperation projects among institutions, not among people that are working together, I mean, because they know each other, they're friends. Of course, this can be the driver of the proposal and of the project in itself, but what we want to achieve is really the involvement of the entire institution. And this is really particularly important from the beginning, and you have to write it down already in this stage. What is also important at the end is that you have a methodology also for planning and control, so that all the information are shared among all the partner already at application stage. And work criteria.
Thank you, Giordana. Thank you, Giordana. So the last award criteria, sustainability, impact, and dissemination, is very important for us. It's very important because we cannot finance everybody. We can finance a minority of the university, but we would like that the results that are produced by these projects that are financed are available and are used also by others. They can benefit in a way by the multiplier effect of sharing these results also beyond the partnership. And so for this reason, we really would like to see that you define very, very clearly how to plan to have an impact on your first target group, but also beyond your partnership. It is also important in these award criteria to address the sustainability, because we have seen so many cases of results that were dead after the end of the project eligibility, that were not there, they were not exploited, they were not used 2 years after or 8 months after the end of the project. So it's really, really important from the very beginning to design the project in a way that is sustainable on the long term, that is sustainable after the end of the funding period. Open access is another, open access of the tools or the results that you create is also important. So as far as possible, we encourage to use open licenses and to engage on this idea of open access of the results. And if you think about communication and disseminations, that, as I already mentioned, are different, because communication concerns the awareness of the objectives and the project activities, while dissemination is about the results, diffusion. But if they are different, they have in common the fact that you need to identify the target group that you want to address. For instance, the academics, the students, the politicians, the private sector, the press, the companies, the business sector, regulatory agencies, and so on, and that you need to be very explicit already at the application stage. So to name the publications, to name the conferences, to name the type and the size of the audience you want to achieve. And the impact can be declined on different level. So you have to clarify which impact you plan to have on the involved institutions, but also on the economy level, for instance, concerning the development of the country, the creation of jobs in the local country, and also on society, civil society and public policies. And also concerning the impact and timing, we can differentiate, and you need in the application to differentiate in the measure that concerns the short term. And in the short term, we expect to see changes in knowledge, skills, aspiration and attitude in the universities, but in the medium term, we hope to see changes in the practice, in the procedures, in the value, in the decision making. And finally, we know that changes in legislation and terminologies and policies, can take more time to go, and so that can be described in the long term. Now I show you the detailed budget table, insisting on the fact that the very first thing that you need to do is to insert the maximum grant amount of the strand, not your project, but the strand. If you apply for strand 1, you need to indicate, like in the example here, 400,000, because it is the maximum foreseen by the call. And also the percentage rate, the co-financing rate, the percentage must be inserted by you at the very beginning in this table, and our percentage is 90%. It means that we maximum give a grant of 90% of the total amount of your project. And then you need to define yourself the different categories of staff. You can define 3, 4, 5, up to you. If you will have a senior professor and junior professor, or if you have just a category professor, it is up to you. If you will have administrative staff, it's up to you. And then the second step is that you insert the beneficiary one after the other. First is the coordinator and then the other partners that will have a detailed sheet each of the partners. And then you need to have the list, you insert the list of work packages. One after the other, you insert the work packages. Once you have done that, the detailed budget will be very easy to fill in, because you will be presented with a sheet like this, for each beneficiary. You see my first arrow, red arrow, the beneficiary one is the coordinator. In the case, indicated by the green arrow, you will have the name of the beneficiary, and then your defined staff category will be automatically displayed in each beneficiary sheet. Just a small mention here, in case you plan to use volunteer, there is a communication of the European Commission showing the rates of this beneficiary, of this voluntary that you plan to involve. So please refer to that communication if you plan to use volunteer, but it's a minority of projects. Concerning the budget, please pay attention to copy to part A the very exact amount of your detailed budget from the Excel. So in part A, you need once more to indicate the total budget and the budget per partner. Please ensure that you copy exactly what comes out from your detailed Excel file. Then you need to ensure value for money. So reflect objectively if the outputs that you propose for your proposal, for your application, are really worth the amount that you request. We don't have depreciation, so for the equipment it is entirely taken into account by the project, so no depreciation, no matter if it is acquired in year 1 or in year 2, but please pay attention that the requirement that the equipment is purchased 12 months before the end of the project still continues to apply even in the lump sum system. And also we have noticed that the staff costs are very frequently inflated, both in quantity, in the number of months that you indicate, but also in the monthly rate. So please be realistic and consider realistic monthly rate for staff cost according to the countries, because not all the countries have the same cost of living. And finally, concluding, for a competitive application, we expect that it is coherent in its totality. So please check before submitting, check that the different parts do not present discrepancies. That is clear. Think that in order to be convinced, our experts need to understand what you plan to do, how to plan to do, when you plan to implement the different parts. Be explicit and focused. Don't overdo. Don't put things that are not requested, but already the things that are requested are so many that you need really to be concrete, use example, use a simple language, and be rigorous. We expect that the application is based on a rigorous reflection and on a rigorous drafting where also details are checked. And ensure that you don't forget any section of the application. There is part A, B, C, and the detailed budget to be completed, including embedding the logical framework matrix. I stop here and I leave the final words to my colleague Giordana. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. So just some final aspect and messages that we want to pass to all of you. It's about writing a good story, so everything should be coherent. As Carla mentioned, you have to convince at first the evaluation committee and the expert, but if you have a good objective, I mean, that are relevant to the call, and you establish a good partnership, and you have clear ideas about what you want to do, and you start thinking already from the beginning the impact and the sustainability that you want to achieve, you will focus and you will cover all the aspects and the requirement of the call. What we suggest you is really to start in time and structure the writing process, to recognize the connection between your proposal and the funding policies with the overarching priorities, but also with the priorities of the countries that you want to target. as I've already mentioned, to involve your hierarchy and your administration from start. These are cooperation projects among institutions, and so it's really very important that the entire administration of your institution is involved. From now, I mean, already when you start to think about what you want to propose in your application. Create a logical link between the objective, the work packages, the deliverable, and the resources, as Carla has mentioned just now. And of course also underline the social and societal benefits that you want to achieve, identify your target groups and the user of your results from the beginning, and also in this way start to think about how to measure also, and write it clearly also in the application, how you measure how you will like to measure this impact and the results that you want to achieve. And as I mentioned, identify the impact from the beginning and find out how to mention it, and to evaluate from yourself already in the application how if you have achieved, and what you will consider in the end a successful project if you are funded. I wanted also to give you some messages on on also our expectation. Of course, what we want is to go to represent all the countries. We work with 150 countries in the world, but some of them are definitely less represented than others. For example, in Sub-Saharan Africa, we don't have all the countries that are represented as we wish. Pacific and Caribbean have been also less represented in the past selection, and we would like also to ensure their participation in capacity building in higher education, in particular in Asia and in Latin America, focus on the least developed countries. What we want is really, we are working on capacity building, and of course the least developed countries are our main target group. And what is also very important is to check the feasibility of your proposal in countries with complex political situation. Unfortunately, in the last years, we faced several complexities in several countries, and our project were, of course, suffering for that and touched by this complexity. So now that you are starting this journey, this story, really reflect from the beginning if your project is feasible or not, and will be feasible or not. So the overarching priorities that you identify should cover all the regions involved in multi-countries projects. So this is also very important that because if not, we cannot continue assessing your proposal. So ensure this is very clearly identifying top. So read carefully what is written there, because it's the first point that you have to discover is if the priority that you have chosen is covering all the regions in which you would like to work. And enlarge also the range of teams, be creative. We have covered already several academic fields and so on, but also in this sense there are some academic fields that have been less developed in the past. So you have received the statistic in this sense, and you can also check the project that have been granted in the funding and tender opportunities portal. So before starting, have a look, read carefully everything. And in this linked with that, I would like to also to present you some useful links for preparing your application. So you have the link to the Erasmus Plus Code and Program Guide, to the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal, and to the logical framework matrix that Carla mentioned already. This will be also in INFTOP, so you can find it and everybody will have access to it, but here are also summarized for you. I would like also to, for closing it, the PowerPoint will be at your disposal. Afterwards, we will send it to all of you, and don't worry, and they will be published also on the website. And for closing this part, I will wish you all success, and of course, we hope to read very soon your application during the evaluation process. Now I give the floor to our colleagues from the REA Validation Center in Pietro Samperi. He will present us how to register and to obtain the validation process. This is very important for us because during the different steps we had several problems with the PIC validation, and that's why we would like to give you some instruction from the beginning on how to register and how to validate your PIC so that you can start from now on to upload and to follow the correct procedure. So please, Pietro, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giordana. Hello, everyone. My name is Pietro Samperi, and I work for the REA, Central Validation Service. I will briefly explain the registration of participants in the participant register of the Funding and Tender Opportunity Portal, and also briefly explain how it works, the legal validation and the LEAR validation, the so-called legal entity appointed representative. I will, of course, by now you know perfectly how to prepare the perfect application, and then to submit your application you need to register your organization in the Funding and Tender Opportunity Portal. I will explain you why and how, and then I will quickly explain what we do at the REA Central Validation Service. We'll say a few words on the legal entity validation and the legal entity appointed representative validation process, just quickly. And also I will explain how to communicate with the Central Validation Services. Finally, I will show you some guidance document that will help you to find more information regarding what has been said in this presentation. In the next slide, I will show you the validation process overview. So the first part is, of course, the registration of the organization in the participant register of the Funding and Tender Opportunity Portal. Just the most important thing to say about this is for this stage to submit your proposal, this part is sufficient. That means that you just need to have your organization registered in the portal. Then all the steps that are after that, so the verification and the validation of the legal data, the LEAR, and the financial capacity assessment when necessary, these steps will be done by the Central Validation Services eventually if and before you have you will need to sign a grant agreement with the Commission. But for this, the purpose of this presentation, we will focus mainly on the registration of the organization. During all after the registration of your organization, all the communications with the Central Validation Service will be done via the participant register. Then the next slide, we start already explain the registration of an organization in the participant register of the Funding and Tender Portal. This must be done, of course, at the proposal stage, and it's important first of all, that you check if your organization is already registered. This is to avoid any duplication. So first of all, you should check and search for registered organization. If your organization is registered, you have a 9-digit code, which is the participant identification code, so-called PIC. So you can click on search PIC. You will have different searching criteria and see if your organization is already registered. This is very important because if your organization is registered, you should use already the PIC number that your organization has. If the organization is not registered, then you need to register the organization and to get a new PIC number. To do so is enough to click on the register organization, and in the next slide you will see how it looks now that the participant registers. You will be redirected to this page. You have just to follow different steps to register your organization. The first one is the identification. So there is again a duplicate check. This is to avoid duplications. So the check is done on the legal name, on the VAT number, for example, or on the registration number. Then you'll be requested to edit some organization data and the legal information. It's very important to pay attention on this phase, because the information that you introduce in this phase is then at the later stage verified against supported documents by the REA Central Validation Service. So it's important that already at this stage you fill in the correct information. Finally, you need to add the name of the authorized users. The authorized users are mainly at this stage the self-registrant, so it's the person who practically edited and introduced the request, the registered organization in the participant register. So to do so, to be able to register, needs to have a EU login account, needs to register with a valid name and email address, and needs to have an account valid. I suggest you to add also backups, so not only self-register but also backups, because it can happen that if the self-registrant leaves the organization, then if there are no backups, nobody will have access to the PIC number. So once all these steps are concluded, you will get a new participant identification code, PIC, which is a 9-digit code, and is the code of your organization. The status is declared, and at this stage is sufficient for the submission of a proposal. So you don't need to provide any documents, anything else. You just need to fill in all these steps. Then quickly we see what we do at the Central Validation Services. So just to let you know, if at a certain stage of after you have submitted your proposal, if you are contacted by the Central Validation Service, this is because we need to verify all the data that you have introduced in the portal. So we mainly verify the legal existence and the legal status of entities. We validate the legal entity appointed representative. We validate any legal change that is done that occurs in the validated entities. I remind that it's the role of the legal entity appointed representative to communicate any legal change that it happens in an organization, and we perform a series of other tasks like checking or eventually universal takeovers. We create legal entity files and bank accounts for your organization, and we prepare the financial capacity assessment when it is necessary, perform ownership control analysis, and ex post status verifications. So now we will have a look at the verification and validation of the legal data. I will go very quickly on this part because, as I said, for the purpose of this presentation, you just need to have a PIC register. So just to let you know what will be the next steps after that, in the next slide, we will see that so the all data that you introduced in the participant register is verified by REA Central Validation Service before the signature of the grant agreement or contract. So that means that grant agreement cannot be signed if the data are not verified and validated by REA Central Validation Service. This is done upon supporting documents. So you will be requested at a certain stage to upload supporting documents. We will see quickly later what these supporting documents are. But the good news is that the validation is done only once. That means that when you sign your first grant agreement or contract, your PIC will be validated, the LIR will be validated, and then for the participation in other call for proposals or call for tenders, you don't need to register again your organization. So this is important also because you know now that if you already have a PIC registered, you don't need to register again. The registration of organization is valid for every program and managed by the Commission. So if you are participating to other programs, or if you have participated in the past already in some programs and you have a PIC number, you should use this for your proposal. So it can be reused for your future participation in any EU grant and procurement actions. Just a quick look on the documents. I would like to clarify that you are not at this stage be requested to provide the documents. So when you register, you just introduce information in the portal, and you don't need to upload any document. Documents will be requested by the Central Validation Service at a later stage and before the signature of the grant agreement or the contract. These documents, but it's important to mention them now because supported documents are necessary to verify the data introduced in the portal. So for example, if you declared be public law bodies, public law organization, then REA Central Validation will request the law, the decree, the decision creating your organization. If you declared being a non-for-profit organization, then you will be requested to upload the statutes. So these are just a few examples, but I will go very quick because it's not necessary at this stage. In the next slide, we will briefly talk about the legal entity appointed representative. This is mandatory for the signature of grant agreement and the contract. So again, not at this stage, but it's important that you know why you will be requested also to appoint a leader. Because the leader has a very important roles within the organization. First of all, it's the main contact point between your organization and the Commission. And among all of the tasks that the leader has is to notify the EU of any change of legal data status of the organization, submits legal and financial documents if required, manage access rights of persons within the organization, so not at the project level, but at the organizational level, and for this can nominate account administrators that can perform some action within the participant register, and individuals who are authorized to sign contract agreements or amendments and financial statements. Very important, the communication between the REA Central Validation Service must be done through via the participant register. So every communication is notified in the email address of the contact person. So if the entity is not validated yet, the contact person is the self-registrant. When your PIC is validated, then also the LIA will be validated, and the LIA will be notified by the Central Validation Service of anything that is necessary. So we'll receive a notification and the communication in the messaging system of the participant register. You will see there, and this is how it looks like a communication from the Central Validation Service. So just to let you know that if you receive a communication from the REA Central Validation Service requesting for documents, it's very important to pay attention to this communication and to upload the requested documents, just to be sure that the grant agreement can be signed in the timely. Now I will, in case you have valid PIC and you don't have access to your PIC, I will explain you quickly how to do. For this, we have two different scenarios. First of all, a PIC which is not valid yet, so it has not been validated yet by the Central Validation Service, so it's in declared status. If, for example, you register your PIC months ago, years ago, and the self-registrant left your organization and nobody has access because there are no backups, you just need to register again your organization, following the steps that we saw at the beginning of this part, and communicate to the Central Validation Service that a new PIC has been created, and we will do the rest. We will merge the two PICs, and we be sure that you can use the newly created PIC. But if your organization is already validated, then you should not create a new peak. Actually, you should instead get access to the peak. For example, if the LEAR is not available anymore and there are no account administrators, then a new LEAR needs to be appointed. If the LEAR who is leaving the organization still access can appoint a new LEAR by with the function add the LEAR. So and it's a simple procedure like to appoint a new LEAR. But if the LEAR already left the organization, so nobody has access, then you can use the LEAR recovery procedure. Is a procedure that is explained in the link that you can find in this slide, and it's quite easy, and you can by following this procedure appoint a new LEAR and get your access back to your PIC number. Finally, so as you see, it was a very quick presentation, but it's just to be clear on the fact that to submit your proposal, you just need register a PIC. If it's even if it's not valid, is perfectly fine. It's enough that it's in declared status, and then only if your proposal will be selected, and then you will be contacted by the REA Center Validation Service to submit and to provide supporting documents. In this slide, you can find guidance documents, which are really important. Really invite you to read carefully, because you will find almost all information needed for all the steps related to the registration of your organization. So there is a link on how to register in the participant register with a step-by-step. There are the rules on legal validation, reappointment, and financial capacity assessment. So you will see what are the conditions, for example, for being validated as a public body. What are the rules that the Central Validation Service will follow to validate your entity. So it's really important for you also to read this. There is the link of the online manual, the IT AO2, the RES, which is the Research Inquiry Service help desk, where you will find many frequently asked questions on the Funding Tender portal. So we have a search function. You will find many important information, many questions that have already been answered. And finally, the legal notice on the Funding Tender portal, so which concern the terms and conditions of the Funding Tender portal, and it explained how your data is managed, because we really care about the data protection, and here we'll find all the information regarding how your data is managed by the Central Validation Services. With this, I conclude my presentation, and I'm ready to ask any questions if necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pietro. Very interesting and very useful. We will only answer general questions. So what I wanted also to reassure you is about the presentations, the link. All the people who have registered will receive an email with the link and with a survey, so that we kindly ask you to answer. And everything will be published on the website of the event where you have registered. So don't worry about that. Everything will be available to you. Now we will start to read some of the questions that we have received, and starting from, for example, the lump sum. So no, I will start with one common question. It's about the accreditation of the courses that are developed during the sorry, but about the accreditation that are developed during the proposal, if the target country does not have any accreditation system in place, how should the applicant describe this aspect in the proposal? Carla, please.
Yes, this is a very, very important question. Of course, accreditation is applicable to those countries that need that as a requirement to teach a new curriculum. If the country does not require a ministerial accreditation or an accreditation issued by any other national agency, then you should specify it in the application, because the countries have not all the same legislation. We work with so many countries, and so if the accreditation is not needed, please mention it specifically. Maybe you work with two countries, I don't know, Tunisia and Egypt, and they may have different requirements. So please clearly state, for this country, the accreditation by the ministry is necessary to teach the new courses, and we will ensure it in the due time. In Egypt, it is not necessary, and we will only have the permission of the rector, and so on. So please, it is up to you to be informed of the requirements that are in each country you plan to work with.
Thank you, Carla. I will go ahead with the other questions. And one is about the distinction in some regions, in countries, in region, for example, in Asia, 5A, FRB, and for example, in Japan. Is Japan eligible for capacity building in higher education? Or Tassos, if you can explain a little bit more this distinction. Thank you.
Yes, Giordana, this is a straightforward question, I think. Clearly, Japan belongs to the high-income countries, and in Asia, if I'm not wrong, region 5, Asia is a 5B country. In this case, it cannot be part of the consortium. It's not an eligible country, so only 5A countries. I try to find the 5B countries, just to complement the whole picture. So Brunei, Hong Kong, Japan, Republic of Korea, Macau, Singapore, and Taiwan, all these belong to the 5B countries of the region, of the Asia region. So we, as we said, it's five for CBHE, only 5A are applicable.
Thank you, Tassos. I go on with another question on the PIC. So if the person who registered the PIC is not anymore in our organization and we cannot modify our PIC account, what should the applicant do?
Thank you, Giordana. We have to make a distinction if the PIC is already valid or not. So if it's not valid, you just have to register a new PIC, so you follow again the same procedure. So it's if your PIC is in declared status and nobody has access, you just register a new PIC and you inform the Central Validation Service by using the communication system in the participant register that you have created a new PIC, and the previous one has to be considered as a duplicate, and we will do the rest. We will merge the two PICs. If your organization is already valid, so if it has been already validated in the past, then you have to keep using the valid PIC because the organization can be validated only once, and there cannot be two valid PICs for the same organization. So it's important that you use the valid PIC. If nobody has access, so because the LEA left the organization, then you can use the LEA recovery procedure. In the slide, you can find the link. If you have issues by this, you can contact the IT help desk. They will guide you through. You can write to the Central Validation Service, but the solution is to use the LEA recovery procedure and to appoint a new LEA. So we will check the documents that you will upload. We will validate the new layer, and the new layer will have access to the peak.
Perfect. Thanks, Pietro. We go on with a question always on the curricula, and if, in particular, if postgraduate level specialization, master and doctorate are eligible for our project, in particular in strength 2. This is the question, but I will say more in general.
Yes, there is no differentiation in the level, so curricula, new curricula are eligible for bachelor, for masters, and also for doctorate, so for PhD. Doctoral schools can be the object of a project capacity building. So the answer is graduate and postgraduate courses are eligible.
Thank you, Carla. I will go on with a question on eligibility. So in this specific example, but I will try to put it more general, is about the participation in the European member states and how it is counted. For example, the number of higher education institutions that should be involved. So if you can elaborate on this, Tassos, please.
Yes, I think it's we explained. We try to explain it also during the presentation. So we have to have the EU member states, to the European countries. Each of them must come with at least one university. You can have a third European country involved in the proposal. It's not necessary that this third one is coming in the consortium, is involved in the consortium with a university. It can be an NGO, it can be a social partner, it can be an association, etc. I also recall a question in the mailbox concerning the organization of HEIS and in relation to the coordinating role. So, as we said in the presentation, universities and organization of universities can coordinate a capacity building higher education project. However, if the coordinator is an organization of HEIS, the country in which the organization of HEIS is established must still come with a university in the consortium. So there are two different things. So the coordinating partner is an organization of HEIS. Okay, fine, all right. However, the country must still bring in a university in order to have the consortium eligible. And that's it.
Thank you, Tassos. I will go on with a question on the project, on the proposal presentation. And for example, more specifically, if there is a staff, during the procedure or the process of the evaluation, there are some changes in the staff composition of the universities that are involved. What does it mean afterwards, during the preparation of the grant agreement? Will it have an impact? How they should eventually deal with this in the consortium?
If there is a change in the staff involved, it can be that some people have left and the project will rely on a different group of people. Well, it is possible, if the project is selected, to note this modification when we do the contractualization. In the contractualization, we have the possibility to adjust some elements that may have changed, if they are minor, of course, like in this case, if you want to replace the name of the people, of the team that you have indicated, it will be possible. It will be possible at a later stage to modify the names. But of course, this is something that happens more frequently during the implementation of the project, because from the moment you design the proposal and submit, let's say January, February, and the moment then the project will start in November, let's imagine, of the same year, these changes can, in most of the cases, be anticipated. But if there will be a change in the staff, it is not an impossible problem. It can be addressed, and of course people retire, new colleagues join, would like to participate. It is possible to incorporate them.
Thank you, Carla. I will go on with a question on the PICs. So in particular, if the leader has left the organization for any reason, so what should the applicant do in this case? Please, Pietro.
Yes, and thank you, Giordana. This is a similar situation as we said before. So the leader, if the leader has left the organization and nobody has access, so that's why the first thing I advise is, when there is a leader within the organization, is to nominate account administrators, because the account administrator, they can then appoint the new leader, for example. So if the leader leaves the organization, the account administrator can appoint the new leader because has access to the leader. But if nobody has access, then in this case you need to use the leader recovery procedure. So there is a link in the presentation with this function. You can also find in the Fund and Tender Opportunity Portal, and by using this, there is this option. There is a wizard that will guide you through the process for the appointment of a new leader, and then you will be requested to fill in the information of the new leader and to upload supporting documents for the appointment of the new leader, and then the Central Evaluation Service will validate the new leader. Once all the process is completed, then the new leader will have access and can perform all the tasks within the organization.
Thank you, Pietro. And I will go on with some question on the budget. In particular, there is a question about the 90% of the budget that the applicant, the consortium, will receive, and how, if you can elaborate a little bit on that. And also on the flexibility between one work packages and the other, also always concerning the budget. And in particular on that, I have a specific question on the lump sum of the use of working days. If, for example, the selected project are saving money on travels or on other aspects.
Yes, I will start with the 90% co-financing. So this is a recurrent question. I realized also from the previous call. So what we have set up is a very scientific, advanced scientific Excel table. So, and we ask you basically to define the budget per partner, per work package, with introducing the actual costs. So the cost you estimate with your usual accounting practices, etc., that you are doing everyday work in your country. You just estimate the costs as you deem appropriate in this table. Then the table automatically discounts 10% of the eligible cost and declares them as define and flags them as the co-financing. So there is no extra effort from your side to define the co-financing. You put your 100% costs, and this will be discounted to 90% for calculating the grant. That's one point. That's one point. Then there was another question. I see it here. It's also about the 7% of overheads. This goes again automatically. So again, the project, you will define the 100% of your costs. We will top up this with a 7% overheads, and on the basis of this final figure, the actual cost, 7% overheads, we will apply the 90% for the EU grant, the lump sum. There was then a question between the question about budget transfers between work packages, partners, and so on. So for this, we have a novelty this year. There is a document that is uploaded on our call website, how to manage your lump sum grants. There you will find, as from day one, when you start drafting the proposal, until you will need to report on your activities, you will find a red thread to go through in all these steps, which means that when, for example, there are transfers between work packages or, okay, let's put it, the tasks from one partner to another partner are possible. These transfers of tasks between two partners, they may call for a budget transfer or not, or they can just be assigned within the same budgetary framework, the new tasks to another partner. However, if you think that this calls for a significant budget transfer, you have to include it in your reporting or inform your counterpartner here in the agency about this impact that a budget transfer or a change of task between the partners will have in the project. What I would like also to point out here is that it is, now I don't want to scare you. It's good that every partner has the correct budget for implementing his activities, so the most accurate budget, because in case of recovery orders, this will be a value on which possible offsetting of recovery orders will take place based on the actual budget per partner. And I missed another one, if I'm not wrong, or I covered everything.
Yes, the saving in one work package is,
yes.
The saving in the work packages if you can use them for other activities of the project.
Yes, indeed, the savings. So, which means that here is I would like to highlight one important aspect. Transfers, so savings of money, can only be done when the work package has not been completed, so it's incomplete. Once it has been completed, savings are not, which means that the project, the work package was implemented with a lower price, but it's complete, then transfers are not possible. So while you are ongoing in implementing the projects, if you find that there will be savings, then you already ask for a transfer of these credits to another work package.
I have a question that it's very straightforward. So are software eligible in the equipment cost?
Yes. Also, software is included in equipment. Hardware and software are both equipment.
I have another question that it's very clear. Are UK universities or organizations eligible for capacity building in higher education?
Here I don't have good news for the UK or those who want to cooperate with the UK. UK belongs to the region 14, according to the Erasmus Plus program guide, so which excludes them from participating in the CBHE, in a CBHE proposal as full partner.
Thank you, Tassos. Another question about the two-year master study program. It could be that to develop a 2 years master study program will take place, time also during the implementation, but if the accreditation is a must, so how do you see it, how can this be included in the time frame of the application and of the project?
Well, when I mention that the new master has to be taught during the project duration in year 3, it means that if we are talking about a master of 2 years, only year 1 will be taught during the eligible period. So it is evident that year 2 will be outside the period of eligibility of the project, unless the project is so well prepared, so efficient that they are able to start the implementation of a 2-year master on year 2. Then both years are within the eligible period. But for us, the requirement, really the requirement that is a must, is that it is taught at least in year 3. So if it is a 2 years program, the second year will be outside. Concerning the accreditation, I have already said that accreditation has to be applied in countries where it is necessary and mandatory in order to teach to students. So accreditation has in any case to be requested and obtained before starting to recruit the teachers, to recruit the students in many countries. Of course, if the country you are targeting is not requiring an accreditation from the ministry, but only by the university, the process will be shorter.
Thank you, Carla. We continue with the last question to Pietro about the PIC and in particular the declared status. If it is possible to apply with a PIC that it's only declared and not validated yet.
Thank you, Giordana. And the quick answer is yes. Actually, to submit an application, a proposal, you just need to, it's sufficient to have your organization registered and you have already obtained your PIC number, your 9-digit identification code. This is sufficient to submit an application, even if it's not validated yet. Of course, as I said during the presentation, you first need to be sure that you don't have already a valid PIC or you don't have already a registered PIC. In that case, is always no. You have to use the valid PIC that you have.
Thank you, Pietro. Again, we have also a last really question on the application form. If there are some news about the length of the application form during this round.
Yes, we have news, I think good news for everyone. So the application form for this year's proposals is limited to 70 pages maximum, which means that we were all the time with 120 pages proposals. Now we go down to 70 pages maximum, which means that you may write 80 pages, 90 pages, but this will not be taken to consideration during the evaluations, as the automatically F-top will blank the pages, so there will be empty pages. So 71st page and so on will show nothing on the screen for the evaluation committee and for the experts, so they won't be evaluated. Please limit yourself on the 70 pages, concise, precise, to the point descriptions. Thank you.
So I would like to thank all the colleagues for their answer and for their presentation, and also the colleagues who helped us in organizing and in presenting today. And of course, all of you, we have seen a very high interest in this call for proposal, and we really hope that we will receive a very well done application, so that we can really choose the best one. So I wish you success in the procedure, and I also repeat that everything will be published on the website, so the recording, the PowerPoint, and so on. So you will have the possibility to read the PowerPoint, and also to hear again what we the key message that we have tried to send to you. So I thank you, and I close then the session. Thank you, and bye.